sakes.
Hello, welcome to our movie class. Today we will speak about classical movie, about Star Trek, and we are happy today that we have an expert here, not about only English, not only English expert, but Star Trek expert. So, teacher Lee, feel free to interrupt me at any point,
Okay.
and to direct our discussion in a good way.
Okay.
So let's start from the story itself. Who can start describing the story? What we can see in this movie? Let's retell the story in short. How we call it? Not
Summarize the movie?
Yeah.
yes. Let's
Okay.
but don't do the whole movie.
No, well, a little bit. I think that this movie, the plot comes from another movie where the crew of the Enterprise saved Mr. Spock, but they did some was a sort of crime. I don't know how to say. How would you call it?
They had to steal the Enterprise and go to a forbidden planet without permission to save him. So they committed a crime to go save him.
Yes, they broke many laws.
Right.
And they are in the planet. I think are they in Vulcan?
Yes, they had to return to Vulcan because they were basically wanted criminals. Well, they brought his body. They brought his body back to Vulcan, and on Vulcan, what he had done. This is hard to explain without seeing the movie, but before Spock knew he was going to die. So before he died, he touched McCoy's head, and he transferred his soul, if you will, into McCoy's mind. So later they found out when they thought he was dead, McCoy started speaking like Spock sometimes. And then they realized somehow Spock's mind was preserved in Dr. McCoy's head, and it was driving McCoy crazy. So they talked to Spock's father and learned that, oh, Spock did this. We can save him, because on the planet they had left, it was they call it the Genesis planet. It renewed or rejuvenated life. So Spock's body was brought back to life by the planet's environment. So that's why they had to go back to the planet to get his body, which broke a lot of laws. And then they brought his body back to Vulcan. And then the Vulcan masters were able to transfer his mind from McCoy back into his body. So they were on Vulcan to rejoin Spock's body and mind. So when they did that, he lost a lot of the previous humanness or emotional understanding that he had gained over many years. So he was kind of cold when they first brought him back to life. That's why in this movie he's a little bit cold and emotionless, which is different than what they were used to. So when the movie starts, they're on Vulcan. He's been restored. They're still testing his mind with these computer tests to make sure he's okay. And they're talking about returning to Earth to face their crimes. So that's where the movie starts.
Yes, because I think Spock is half human and half Vulcan.
Correct. So he's kind of a half-breed. So he's always got that inner struggle. I must not show emotion, but he's my friend. I must not show emotions. Okay. So that's the start, right?
The problem in this movie is that a space probe cylinder, very big, is absorbing all the energy that where they goes in his way. So it's about to destroy almost everything, even the Earth. And this probe is emitting some sound that they find out that corresponds to whales singing. And now whales are extinct. So they think the solution, Captain Kirk, and I think it's Almiral here, Almiral.
Admiral. He's Admiral right now, yeah.
Admiral Kirk decides that they have a spaceship and they should do some travel time to the end of the 20th century to get some whales, so the whales can answer back to the probe. I think that's the beginning of the movie, and then how they do that.
Do you think that this traveling through the time, it's what we saw recently in Interstellar? The same idea, sun and these pictures, some people outside.
It's a little different. In previous Star Trek episodes, Spock and Kirk and the Enterprise accidentally did something that threw them through time. So they knew from past experience, if they do a certain maneuver around a big star, they can actually travel through time. So that's why in this movie it was like, oh crap, we have to go back through time. They knew how to do it because they had done it accidentally in the past, so they learned how to do it. So Spock figured out, well, if we don't have any whales now, it's possible to go into the past, get some, and bring them into the future. So it's kind of a crazy plot, but as you can see, it's kind of a funny movie. They tried to add some humor to this Star Trek movie. So that was the idea, yeah.
Okay. Vasans, can you continue?
Yes, and I hope I watched the same movie you are talking about. Is that about the two?
If it had two whales, it was the right movie.
Yes, whale.
There's two bots, right? A robot and is that the same movie?
Robot?
Yeah, two robots. I think.
No robots.
Oh, okay. I think
You're wrong.
I watched another totally.
Maybe you watched Star Wars or something. They have robots.
Yeah, you might have watched Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Vasans. We will explain everything to you, and you will see slides. Jorgen, can you continue? What kind of movie you watched?
Yeah, I can't tell about the story right now. Sorry.
Okay, no, not a problem. Okay, let me continue a few cents, a few minutes. So they maneuver around the star was successful. They get into the past. They got into the past, but they have it was another ship, as far as I understood. It was a ship captured from some another civilization. Right. And maybe because of their mistake, or maybe because of limit of technology, they almost run out of the energy. Some crystal was broken, and it was additional task for them to find a way to get energy back. So they don't have a chance to return back without energy, and I'm sorry, I have to switch phone. And they landed, if I can say landed, into the America of the past for them. And I think it's America of 70s. Am I right, Tichuli?
80s, I think.
80s. It should be around today's time, yeah.
Okay. So they interact with people. They found out that people at the time use money, and there are a lot of, I would say, vivid scenes from this past America, from then America. It's very interesting. Those policemen, those shops, bars, and this pool. I forgot the name. How they called pool for whales. Oceanarium, oceanography. I don't know how they call it.
Cinematography, movie effects, or
something like that. So they found a place where in the closest place where were located 2 whales, and went to that place, meet a woman who is in charge for whales, who manage them, and spoke. It's turned out that Spock can speak with animals, can speak with whales.
Yeah.
And they start to develop a plan how to get these whales to the future and how to find energy source. And I like this scene when they try to ask strangers on the street, started from policemen and strangers, where is some atomic submarine
They call them nuclear vessels.
Vessels.
Nuclear vessels.
Yes, that's funny. And the one guy from their team, by occasion, he had a Russian surname.
It didn't sound Russian, huh?
was captured in the submarine or ship, or I don't know exactly.
Aircraft carrier. Okay.
Aircraft carrier. Okay, and he looked very strange, like a spy, like a Russian spy, but like a detained Russian spy, and there is some humor about that.
Yeah, he didn't understand idioms, so when they were saying things, he's like, "I'm through. I can go." You know, through means you're finished. You're doomed. Yeah.
Gerard, please, can you continue?
The name of the aircraft carrier was the U.S. Enterprise. I don't know whether it's still operative.
I don't know. It may be decommissioned in a museum or something now, but the Enterprise, because of Star Trek, the Enterprise is a very famous name. It was named after the USS Enterprise, I guess, the aircraft carrier. In the story, it was in the Star Trek universe, it was named after the aircraft carrier, I believe. And then when we made our very first space shuttle, you may not remember, but they named it the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So our first space shuttle was named the Enterprise in honor of Star Trek's Enterprise, which was named after the aircraft carrier Enterprise. So they tried to show it was a coincidence in the movie that their namesake Enterprise is going to be their savior.
Okay.
I heard in the movie that they call the Russian Rusky. Is it that offensive, that derogatory or not?
It's a slang word. It's kind of rude. Well, I don't know if the Ruskies think it's rude or not, but we just use it as a word for Russians.
Rusky.
But Rusky, it's how it sounds on Russian. You know, if you say Russian in Russian, it will be Ruski. It sounds like that.
Right, Ruski. Yeah. Ruski. So it's a slang word to refer to Russians. It doesn't really mean any derogatory meaning. It's just a slang name for a Russian. He's a Rusky. Okay.
Rusky. Okay.
It's strange. We have slang names for other races too. We have Spix for Spanish.
Uh-huh.
The Germans.
we have Chink for Chinese.
And Italians?
Italians are
spaghetti.
I think we may have a slang for Italians, but I can't remember it.
Yes, I saw Catch 22, but I don't remember.
Gook is a Vietnamese that comes from the war. Now, these words all have bad meanings. You call someone a gook or a chink or a spick, that's an insult. Now, Ruski, as I told Ivan before, we don't normally think of the Russians in a stupid or dumb or idiotic way. We seem to have more respect for the Russians. So when we say Ruski, it really has no bad meaning associated with it. It's just maybe an affectionate name for the Russians. But the other names here for other nations are pretty rude.
But for me, it sounds logical. You know, can you hear this name like Yankee, for instance? Just a typical name, or Ivans. It's the same for me. I think that Ruski is just adaptation of how we call themselves. Ourselves, I mean.
Yeah, and people call other nations call us Yankees sometimes from our early. We're not really Yankees now, but from our early days, we were called the Yankees by the British when we had a war. So that name kind of stuck.
And the Speaks call you gringos.
Yeah. So similarly, gringo is kind of an insult to us, a white person. The Chinese call us Yangwei, which is Western Devils. So we've got some bad names from other nations as well.
I never heard that in American movies, but in English movies, I often can hear the Germans. They call it like parody of the German accent, maybe German accent. They call it the Germans, something like this.
Yeah, we do that sometimes. Yeah, Z for the Z. The Germans. Okay.
So what happened next, Gerard?
They also need another thing, a big container to keep the whales. So they have an engineer that go to a factory where they make plexiglass. I think it's called plexiglass, and they help the guy in charge of the factory to build a better plexiglass, so they can build the container inside the spaceship to keep the whales. And then what they need more? Okay, they need the whales are about to be released in Alaska, but they released before the oceanographists thought, and they saved the whales just in time. How do you call these boats that kill whales?
Oh, we just call them whaling boats.
Whaling boats.
And the weapon's called a harpoon.
Harpoon, yes. With a rope, a big harpoon with a rope.
It's an iron spear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a giant fishing hook on a rope.
Yes, the whales don't have no chances with this technology, and the big harpoon is not that 2 centuries ago. It was more difficult to hunt whales.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they catch the whales and they return just in time to release the whales in the sea in San Francisco. And the whales answer the call from the proof, and the proof is satisfied, and they come back, they restore the energy, and everything is fine. And happy ends. The Star Trek crew save the world one more time.
But the movie has a romantic story inside. You know, this woman from the past of the Earth coming to the future because of Kirk, because of his charm, or how we call it.
But you know what I find curious in movies? There's always a middle-aged man that goes with a very young woman, but because at least this woman is 20 years older. That doesn't usually happen in real life.
Yeah. In the Star Trek universe, in the TV series, Kirk was always a ladies' man. So in all the episodes, women would just, like James Bond, they would automatically just swoon over him, and he'd end up kissing them, and then he'd have to separate at the end, you know. So this one was trying to follow the same thing, but like you said, there was no kiss here because he's older than he used to be. So probably they thought it would be inappropriate for this old guy to be hitting on this young woman by kissing her. So she just pecked him on the cheek in the movie.
So let's talk a little bit. I think we've done this plot. So let's go on. So what about the favorite scenes? What do you like? As I shared, I like it that scene with policemen when they ask it, and another one when they try to behave naturally on the street. It was funny one. And I like it many jokes with Spock, that the way he speaks, the way he interacts is it's made for contrast. So there are some jokes about it.
Sounds like a foreigner that doesn't understand English. I've noticed, Captain, that you've been saying the hell and double dumbass. What are these words?
And I like the way Spock moves his eyebrow, you know, like this.
Yeah, he's got strange eyebrows. Now the Vulcans, when Nimoy, the actor, became the character, they needed to find a way for Spock to fight. So the actor that played Spock said, Mr. Spock is not violent. And he's emotional, you know, he can control his emotions. He doesn't get angry. So he would not hit somebody with his fist. So the Vulcan, so Spock, what he does, he has what's called the Vulcan nerve pinch. He can just squeeze a nerve right here and make you pass out. So in the movie, the hippie on the bus was making trouble. So Spock reaches over and goes, and the guy passes out. So Spock is non-violent. Vulcans are non-violent. So they have a special technique to disable an enemy, if you will.
Well,
so,
yes.
So when that happened, the whole bus clapped.
Right. And we call that guy with a stereo is a hippie, right? Subculture, maybe.
I would call him a punk.
So how do you call this, Jester? Show the bird or something like this?
The bird.
The bird. The bird.
Or the finger.
The finger.
The bird or the finger. Yeah. So again, that's an insult. That's like, you know, screw you, you know.
Universal insult.
Yeah. Can you turn the volume down? Turn it louder. Unfortunately, we have people like that today.
Jürgen, what is your favorite scene in the movie?
Yeah. There were many good funny scenes, but can't remember any special now.
Okay. Okay, Gerard, do you have any?
Yes, I like the moment when Spock was discussing with his mother, and she made a question, you know, a lot of logical questions. He could answer them without doubting, you know, very fast. But then she asked him, how do you feel? And he thought that was a stupid question because it wasn't, you know, it's something subjective.
Emotional, yeah.
Emotional. So he didn't like him. He was logic at this time, not emotional. His half human wasn't present.
And they played this line again in the movie close to the end. When he need to make some calculation, he just guess it. I think it's the same line.
At the very end of the movie, his father said, do you have a message for your mother? And his message was answering that question.
I feel
fine. So Star Trek's, they're good about, you know, closure and punchlines. They're real good about that. So.
Well, I also like this lunch scene in restaurant when they spoke with woman. It's a good one, I think.
Yeah.
So she kind of, I don't know how to say it. She kind of passionate, very not passionate. She take it as granted what she talked, but it was ridiculous, you know. If someone started to speak me that, I would go, but she listened it and
we say she humored him. When you humor someone, you pretend to believe what they say. Okay, I understand. Okay, but in your mind, you don't believe it. You're just making them feel like you accept them. They're making them comfortable.
So you are from the future. You need 2 whales. Okay, I will go with you. I will be ready tomorrow.
Right. Sometimes we humor our children that way. Dad, I saw a monster. Ooh, where, son? Where? Oh, you're right. Maybe that is a monster. We do that with our children sometimes to make them feel not dumb or not stupid, you know.
Yeah, right. Gerard, please.
I also like how McCoy was appalled by the medical technology they had, and they compared them with a Spanish Inquisition
Right.
and the Dark Ages.
That's right. We're gonna cut into his head. My God, man! This man doesn't need a knife cutting into his head. That was better. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
And the old lady who needed dialysis. Oh, that's like the Dark Ages.
Yeah, actually,
Please.
you may have missed it, but when McCoy gave her a pill, later when she's passing him, she said, "Doctor, thank you.
Yeah.
I've got new kidneys. They grew back."
Well, it's a good thing to have, you know, a medicine from a future centuries.
Yeah.
I would like to have that tomorrow. What we will invent in 300 years after.
Yeah.
Did you notice an idiom that we talk many times? A very common idiom.
Sorry, no.
Being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Very common. Yeah.
And what was the context?
I don't remember, because the situation, I don't know, some difficult situations, so they...
Yeah, I can't remember either.
I was curious to hear.
The whales, something. When they should transport them, I think.
Oh, maybe when they're trying to transport the one Uhura and Chekov from the aircraft carrier, he says, "I can only bring in one at a time. Not enough power." I'm not sure, but
no, they was in a bad situation anyway with the hunters or.
Okay, the whaling ship. Okay. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. All right.
The visual of the movie is very good. It's almost unexpected. So this effects, very, very interesting. This teleports, this space sense, very good, I would say, for that time at least.
Yeah.
And so, it's look at natural. It doesn't ruin the story. You know, some movies make a lot of good picture and no story inside. So in this one, I think we have balance.
Yeah.
So if I understand right, we have some questions on our panel, but it's about another movie, right?
That's why I didn't understand what.
Yes, it was a very funny moment when teacher joined it. He said, "I don't understand what this question's about."
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So something I'll mention, as Ivan said, this movie had a lot of facets, a lot of aspects. It was about nature and ecology, you know, protecting species from extinction and the possible harmful future effects. It was about menace. We had some threat to the Earth. Now, fortunately, in this case, the Earth in the Star Trek universe is united. All the nations live together peacefully, but this menace, you know, kind of united the Earth. Everyone faced the same threat. This menace was so powerful, it didn't even need to shoot. It just drove by you and sucked all your power, and you're just floating helpless. So kind of you know, you people are gnats, small insects to me. I'm just going to go past you, and you know, and it's about right and wrong. In the previous movie, they committed mutiny, basically mutiny or treason, to go save Spock. And so now they were willing to go to the Earth to face court-martial to answer for their crimes. So it was about right and wrong, and they were willing to accept their punishment. So it had a lot of different aspects to it. Okay.
I cannot say that I understand the very end of the movie. So can you explain me how these whales saved the day? So what was...
Okay. They didn't really understand what was going on either. They were only guessing. But basically, what their theory was that whales have been on the earth for millions of years. So they believe that millions of years ago, some advanced race planted whales on different planets. Maybe, you know, to seed life. I don't know. Maybe it was a whale race. And somehow they could do this. But they planted whales on different planets. And periodically, from their distant planet, they would contact these planets and say, hey, whales, how you doing? We're doing good, Dad. Okay. So when this race contacted the Earth in the 23rd century, there were no whales. So they said, hey, whales, how you doing on Earth? No answer. So they sent this probe to the Earth to investigate why the whales were not answering their checkup, okay? Their check-in time. Are you okay? So it got to so when it came to the Earth, it was trying to talk to the whales, but the whales weren't answering. Now, why it was evaporating the oceans, I don't know. Maybe just the energy of its transmission, of its communication wave was evaporating the oceans. So that's what was causing the Earth to get destroyed, was the moisture in the air. That was blocking the sun. It was causing wind and weather conditions. So all it wanted to do was talk to the whales and say, are you okay? So that's why Spock and Kirk figured out, there's not going to be an answer to this probe. We're doomed. So we need to go get some whales, bring them back here, and let the whales answer this probe. He'll be happy and he'll go away. So that's what they did. So they brought these whales back, and when the whales started whale song, the probe was satisfied. Okay, everything's okay. So it left and went home again. The Earth and the humans were just a side effect.
The interesting fact that as far as Spock speak, you know, whale language, they just need Spock to answer.
Well, they talked about can we just play back recordings of whale song, and Spock said we can play back the noise, but it won't be intelligible. We can play back, you know, we all live in a yellow submarine, but the probe's not gonna. That's not gonna be what the probe's wanting to hear.
Right.
So they needed intelligent whales that could formulate meaningful whale song sentences, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. Gerard?
And the shape of this ship, like a big cylinder, is the same as the very famous novel from Arthur C.C. Clarke. It's called Rendezvous with Rama, or I don't know how would you pronounce that in English.
Rama. Okay, I didn't read that story. So same thing.
It's about a big cylinder, and they have to investigate the cylinder. So maybe, you know, the writers of the plot make a bling. I don't, how do you call that when you want to remind something? Yeah, I don't know how to say.
Based on
okay.
Like by motifs, maybe basis.
Yeah. Like, they like to put in the movie things that reminds other movies or other.
Oh, we call that a salute. One word we call it for is a salute to other movies. There's a term for that. I can't think of it right now. Yeah,
we can write it later on our site in the comments. So, and it's a very common thing. I think many movies put the reference and PSs of old movies just to show respect, maybe make a joke and
some homage also.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, pay homage to old movies. Yeah.
Okay, since we don't have any questions, we can go to the pictures and then return back. What do you say?
Perfect.
Okay. Let me try to share. And it doesn't work again. Okay. 1 second, please. Sometimes Google don't cooperate with me. Okay. Okay, Star Trek 4. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, let's start. 1 second more.
One thing I couldn't understand. They was up in the sky, and next second they was at the bridge. How could that happen? Or what I have missed?
Means they.
The probes sucked up all their energy, so they were basically gliding down. They were in a controlled glide, getting ready to crash.
So they actually just fell down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had no power. The probe took all their power away, so they were just gliding like a bird, and they crashed into the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we how we call this plane planes that don't have engine? You know, some planers. No.
Gliders.
Some planes.
Gliders.
Okay. So they trajectory like that, right? Just
yeah, they were gliding down to crash in the water.
Mm-hmm. Very fancy picture here and special font, I would say.
The Golden Bridge, I think. Is it the Golden Bridge?
Golden Gate Bridge.
Golden Gate Bridge.
Very famous landmark. Star Trek likes landmarks too.
And a very big moon, or what is that?
Supposed to be the sun with the clouds in the air.
Mm-hmm. And okay, let's start from this one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you start, please?
Okay, here we can see some trash cans and foggy morning. Okay, in a park, and a garbage truck, and 2 people are dumping. I think our back part of truck is hydraulic trash compactor, but they are dumping something. I don't know.
They're emptying a trash can.
Okay, emptying the trash cans. Okay.
Yeah.
So compactor allow this car to carry a lot of trash, right?
Right.
So you don't need a lot of cars. You need just one with compactor, and it's squash it. Can we say it?
Squash, yeah.
Squash it, and it's very efficient way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
do you have such? Mm-hmm.
But it's not efficient is those cans. Now they have a big container with wheels and bigger, and you can hook the container next to the truck, and the truck empties it.
Yeah. Now it's automated with a big arm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these kind of trash cans, if you ever walk by them, they stink. It's like, whoo, they smell really bad. So this kind of a job is a very low-level job. Nobody wants to be a trash man and have to empty this smelly trash.
Okay. But what I noticed in Vietnam, I wonder why they don't have these cars. But the streets is so narrow, so small that they just can't afford a big truck. So they have some wheelbarrow, how we call that, with a man, and it's it's a not pleasant job. Manual job. Mm-hmm. So it's America of past, right, where they landed. This park where they have, how they call this device that hides the ship.
They call it a cloaking device.
Cloaking device. Okay, so it's some camouflage, some masking device, right? They turn it on, and no one can see the ship.
Another movie might call it an invisibility screen.
But it's funny that they have a sled on the grass, so you don't see the ship, but you see this landing sled, or how we call it.
We would just call it a depression.
Depression. Okay.
Depression in the land, on the ground.
Okay. Next one, Disembarking. Jürgen, please. What you can see here? The same park, I think.
A picnic table, door of cloaked spaceship opening, and fog and trash cans.
Usually, what makes this table to be a picnic? It's because it's on a park, or it's a special form?
It is a special design. We use this design for park tables where you can eat outside. So this is a special design wooden table that is put in parks so people can eat outside. It's supposed to be waterproof wood.
But is it dismountable, or how you call it? Can you put it in the car?
No, well, you can. People do steal them, so a lot of them are chained down.
Okay.
Are they affixed to the ground, those tables and chairs? Affixed?
Usually they're fixed. Usually fixed so you can't steal them.
In Russia, we almost never have these picnic tables, mounted in one place. People just bring them with themselves and spread out. It's just I don't know word for that. It's just when you can make it, in a second.
You can bring your own if you want. Yeah.
But
sometimes
how we call
a blanket on the ground? Yeah.
How we call this portable furniture?
Usually we call it folding table.
Folding table. Okay.
Folding chairs. Yeah.
Okay. I see.
We have that also.
Good to know. Gerard, what is the scene about?
Two protagonists. I think one is Chekov, the other one, I don't know the name of this lady.
Uhura.
Uhura. It's difficult to pronounce.
She's from Africa.
Logically. And this is the McCoy. Is this in the back?
McCoy has his back to us.
And the Japanese guy also.
Yeah, he's a short guy.
And Captain Kirk, I think.
Kirk's walking away, so that's the engineer, Scotty, in uniform. And then the Russians on the left.
The Rusky.
The Rusky, yeah.
So how they figured out that they need money?
Okay, I think they knew that they needed money, but they didn't know how to get it. I think they sold some glasses, but I didn't get why those glasses were so expensive.
It was a gift from another admiral, and it says it's a very old one from 18th century.
Yeah, they were antique glasses that McCoy gave them to him in the future because his eyesight was going bad. So McCoy found some antique eyeglasses that were the frames were very, very old. So they were antiques in the future. So when it got back here, they were still antiques because they're even older than this. So they were over 200 years old.
It was a funny dialogue between them in the shop. They said, why you sell them? Will not you miss them? It says, no, in the future I will get them back. It will be gift again.
That's right.
And I think that they discovered they need money because of this dispensing machine for newspapers. They look at that one stranger, put some monies in it, and put some newspaper. So Kirk watched on that and say, "Oh, I see. They still use money."
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have such or had such newspaper dispensing machines in your place, guys?
No, not really.
Never. But we have a big big blackboard maybe with newspapers pinned on it. So if you don't want to buy newspaper, you just move to this blackboard in the district and you can read it. You cannot take it with you, but you can read it.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, we have these newspaper machines everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And usually these blackboards was located in the places when people have to wait something, on the bus stops, on the train stops, something like this. So it was a good thing.
Convenience, okay.
In Spain, we have bars where people go to eat their breakfast and to drink something, but they have several newspapers. So you have time. You have the time to read a little bit the newspaper without paying anything. It's quite common.
Okay, so what else here? It's a advertisement on the pole. How we call this? Electric pole, not?
Yeah, probably that's the traffic light pole. It holds the red lights up across the road.
Mm-hmm.
Just a big post or pole. Yeah, people stick up flyers.
Well, it's our problems now. We have a lot of advertisement, and our government, local municipality, make some special. I don't know the name for it. Some special net, metallic net, some wired device to prevent you to make this advertisement.
Okay, good.
It's like a fence or something like this.
Yeah, it looks ugly. Yeah.
Vasant, please, your question.
Yes, I can see a box nearby the post. So is that a speaker, loudspeaker or something?
No, I think both of them are newspaper machines.
Okay.
They're different companies' papers.
Okay.
One might be the Washington Post, the other might be the New York Times.
Okay. And all this die because of smartphones, right?
Yeah.
We don't need these blackboards anymore. Also, people just read their smartphones.
The internet is killing the newspaper business. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, Vasant, please.
And here we can see the advertising on the side of a bus, and it shows humpback whales and Georgian crazy. Okay, they were famous. He was a comedian, and she's his wife, and have a whale of a good time. Okay, it might be a slogan of their institute, and phone numbers. That's it.
So it's a bus with advertisement on its back or on its side, maybe.
On its side, yeah.
Side. Gerard, please.
Did you notice that many times phone number starts with 555 in American movies? Because I think it's to prevent people from calling them.
Yes, right, exactly. I read the story that in the old times, in the one famous movie, they placed a real number, and a lot of people called this number, and the owner of this number sued a lot of money from the company, and that's why the Hollywood made this thing 555. It's not existing code, and in any movies they use this code.
I didn't know that. Okay. It makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I remember an incident. I hope you all watched the Memento movie. So we have we remade that movie in our language. So we made a huge poster of the protagonist with a number written on his chest. So it was a random number, but it happened to be a female's girl's number. So he made a complaint against the company. It happened here.
Okay, so let's go back to the picture. What is Cetacean Institute? Cetacean looks like ocean, but not
No.
ocean.
Cetacean.
What does it mean?
It's
It's
the
a town name.
animal family of whales.
Okay.
Whales are cetaceans.
Cetaceans are mammals that live in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might think a mammal is a fish. I mean, you might think a whale is a fish, but a whale is a mammal just like we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have babies, and babies drink their milk from their titties, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So mammals that live in the ocean are called cetaceans.
I see. So another example is dolphins, right? And that's all, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and in the movie they have a joke about this bus. You know, when Spock tried to figure out where to go, I said I will solve this in a logical way.
Right.
Kirk just watched this on the bus and said, I already solved that, let's go.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. How do you know this?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's the same bus with a map. On this map, Spock tried to solve the direction where to go.
Right.
And and we used to have such a maps on the streets also, but not in small towns, but in the big cities and touristic places. So
Yeah.
it's not useful for citizens, but it can be very useful for tourists. So you can.
It's really for tourists. Same here.
Mm-hmm. So they can stop and see where to go, what is around, and so on.
And sometimes it'll tell you which bus goes where.
Mm-hmm.
The red bus, the blue bus, you know.
So you call it directory sign, right? Directory sign.
Yeah.
Okay, directory. Okay. So it's a bus, and they was ousted from the bus because they have because they have a big money, right? Big money.
Right. They did not have exact money, exact change, we call it.
Mm-hmm. And the driver does not want to to deal with that.
Right.
Go away, right?
Exactly. Good.
Well, it's interesting because in Russia we have an opposite law. You know, in Russia the change is a problem of seller always by law. So you can bring any money, and the seller have to make change.
Okay.
I don't know why we have this law, but we have this.
Okay.
So what else here? Trash can, massive one from stone, I think, from granite maybe.
Yeah, this one's more decorative. It looks like stone, so it's kind of looks attractive, but it's still a trash can.
And it's hard to empty it, right? Hard to get the trash from it.
I guess the top comes off. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So bus right side mirror, and because bus it's a big car, you cannot look in the middle mirror, right? You have to look in the right side and left side.
Yeah.
I never drive in the big bus, but I think it's a hard job.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Okay, another one. My favorite scene. Jorgen, please.
Yeah, here's a windshield. And it's Uhura and Chekov asking a cop for directions. Yeah.
What he answered?
They just looked at them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he never spoke.
How we can call this look? Stare, glaze, gaze.
Stared is okay, or gazed. Yeah.
It was I would say it's a poker face, you know, me and nothing.
Poker face. Yeah, like he's thinking, "Are you serious? Are you for real?"
and they started to stop just strangers and ask them, where is super secret base here?
Yeah.
A nuclear vessel, I think, or something.
Yeah. Where are the nuclear vessels? Yeah. Where's your military bases? These are Russian.
Yes. But policeman did nothing, just stare, not my problem, right? Unless you are not on the street, unless you are not road violator or something like that, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
What's funny?
Yeah.
Okay,
punk.
it's your sin, right? Hippie.
Not Steve, it's Punk. I think it's Punk guy.
Punk,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so punk. So,
You can say hippie or punk, either one. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Jart, what can you see
I
this
think-
interest?
I think the difference between a hippie and a punk, the punk is more aggressive, and the
Yeah.
hippie is quiet guy, smoke marijuana, no problems. But
Very
the punk,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
so this guy is having a very, how do you call that, radio cassette,
We call it a boom box.
boombox, a big boombox with
It
cassette.
has loud volume. Head on your shoulder. Boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom.
What's the reason for that? Just to irritate people or something else?
Yeah.
Black people like them mostly, but the punks like them too, I guess.
And I think
What about-
the guy has orange hair with brilliantine. Do you call that brilliantine that keep the hair, fixed? How do you call that?
I don't know.
Comp, no?
Hair cream or something. I don't know.
Let me if you have hair gel,
Hmm.
hair gel. I think.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like
Gel. Okay, hair gel to
yes,
you make it stand up. Yeah. Okay.
like the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. Probably earrings.
A leather jacket, chains, a lot of things with metal, and something in his hand. Okay, and the spike bracelet, a dog collar,
Yeah.
a piercing, some piercings in his ear.
Yeah.
That's everything. Everything.
Just ugly, just nasty looking. Ugh.
Nasty looking.
So their idea is intentionally irritate people, right? To be uncomfy in society, to listen a lot more music. We have them in the past, but I didn't see them recently. Haven't seen them recently.
The
Don't know.
KGB solved that problem.
Looks so, yes. But even when we have them, I think that was just a parody for Americans movie or something like that. I don't think that it was idea in it.
Okay.
It's like those people are against the system. We call in Spanish we call anti-system, something like this. They are against the system of our society.
Yeah, sometimes we'll call them anti-establishment,
Yes, that's what I meant. Anti-establishment.
anti-government, anti-authorities.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Wasans, did you wear this costume in your youth?
I don't imagine Basan wearing that. Even in Carnival.
Well, yes, looks ugly. And our time almost over. So let's finish on that. But we will put all the slides on our site, and I will put our chat. So thank you very much for this movie.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
I think I will watch the continuation.
Yeah, watch 1, 2, and 3. They're good movies.
Okay. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.